The night sky over Los Angeles shimmered with the glitter of city lights, but all eyes were fixed on one place, the Dolby Theater. The air was thick with anticipation as photographers jostled for position, their cameras flashing like bursts of lightning. Luxury cars rolled to a stop, spilling out celebrities in gowns that shimmered like molten gold and tuxedos as sharp as daggers. Among them was Adrian Chase, the man Hollywood had crowned its golden star. He emerged from his sleek black limousine with effortless grace, his smile dazzling beneath the blinding flashes. His jawline was sharp, his eyes alive with charm, his presence magnetic. Fans screamed his name, their voices a chorus of worship, as he paused to wave his arm around Sophia Lane, the rising actress who had captured not just the screen, but the heart of America. Together they looked untouchable. Adrian, with his reputation as a gentleman, philanthropist, and award-winning actor. Sophia, the ingenue whose talent was matched only by her beauty. To the cameras, they were the perfect couple, modern royalty draped in satin and starlight. As they walked the carpet, whispers followed them like perfume. "They're the real deal. He's finally found the one." She's glowing. But behind the flawless smiles, behind the dazzling lights, lay shadows that no one could see. Shadows that were about to consume them both. Inside the theater, Adrian worked the room with ease. Every handshake, every laugh, every well-timed compliment reinforced his image as Hollywood's gentleman. Sophia stayed close by his side, laughing at his jokes, her hand resting lightly on his arm. To the outside world, she was in love. Inside, though, something darker flickered, a quiet unease she buried beneath rehearsed smiles. For the truth was already cracking through the perfect facade. Behind closed doors, Adrian was not the man the world adored. He was colder, sharper, prone to silences that stretched into storms. The love that had once swept Sophia off her feet had curdled into something possessive, something suffocating. But no one could see it yet. The applause roared as Adrian took the stage to accept his award. His voice rang out with charm as he thanked directors, castmates, fans, and then, finally, Sophia. He looked down at her, eyes gleaming, and said words that made the audience swoon. "Sophia, you are my everything, my light in the darkness." The crowd erupted, cameras flashed, and Sophia smiled, though her hands trembled in her lap. The world believed it was a love story. But the truth was far more sinister. Their romance had begun like a dream. Sophia, young and ambitious, had met Adrian at a charity gala. He was magnetic, older, established, the kind of man who made the room bend around him. When his eyes found hers, she felt chosen, special, seen. Their courtship was a whirlwind. Lavish dinners, private jets, whispered promises beneath city lights. He showered her with roses, diamonds, words sweeter than honey. The world called it fate. Sophia called it love. But what she didn't know was that she had stepped into a trap disguised as a fairy tale. The first cracks were small. Question about where she had been. A frown when she laughed too loudly at someone else's joke. A comment about the dress she wore, the friends she kept, the roles she chose. Each one disguised as care, as love, as protection. She brushed them aside, convincing herself that this was passion, that this was what love looked like. But the passion grew sharper. His voice, once velvet, began to cut. He monitored her phone, her calls, her messages. He dismissed her friends, belittled her choices, isolated her piece by piece. The man who had once lifted her onto pedestals now pulled her down into shadows. And then came the first time his hand struck her. It was quick, shocking, followed by tears and apologies, and a diamond bracelet slipped onto her wrist as if to erase the bruise. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his eyes shining with guilt. "It'll never happen again." But it did. Again and again. Always followed by gifts, by apologies, by promises that this time would be different. Sophia lived in a cycle of love and fear. Her soul torn between the man she thought she knew and the monster she saw behind closed doors. To the world, they were perfect. To Sophia, it was a prison wrapped in gold. On screen, Adrian's career soared. He played heroes, saviors, men who loved deeply and fought nobly. The irony was suffocating. He gave interviews about kindness, about integrity, about respecting women. His fans adored him more with every word. No one knew that Sophia was rehearsing her own role every day. The role of the perfect girlfriend, the flawless partner, the woman who smiled while hiding bruises beneath designer sleeves. She thought about leaving, but where could she go? Adrian had power, influence, connections that could make or break her career. He reminded her often, "Without me, you're nothing. Don't forget that." Still, the thought of escape grew louder in her mind. Each bruise, each threat, each shattered night pushed her closer to the edge. And then came the night that changed everything. The storm raged outside their Malibu mansion, waves crashing violently against the cliffs as rain lashed the windows. Inside, the air was just as turbulent. Sophia had told Adrian she wanted space, that she needed time to think. His face darkened, his jaw tight, his voice low and dangerous. "You don't need space," he hissed. "You need me." The argument escalated like a wildfire. Words turned to shouts, shouts to slammed doors to shattered glass. And then, in the chaos, Adrian's hands found her throat. His grip was iron, his eyes wild, his voice a snarl. "You'll never leave me," he growled. Sophia's vision blurred, her breath stolen, her heartbeat frantic. Desperation surged through her. Her hand reached blindly, finding a shard of glass from the broken vase on the floor. With the last of her strength, she struck. Adrian stumbled back, blood blooming against his shirt, shock flashing across his face. He collapsed, gasping, while Sophia, trembling, dropped the shard and backed away. For a moment, the only sound was the storm outside and the ragged beat of her heart. She thought he was dead. She thought it was over. But it was only the beginning. Sophia's hands shook violently as she pressed them against her lips, muffling a scream. Adrian lay sprawled on the marble floor, his chest rising and falling shallowly. Blood seeped between his fingers where he clutched his side, staining the cream carpet crimson. For a moment she froze. The rain hammered against the glass walls, the thunder growled overhead, and inside the mansion, the silence felt heavier than the storm itself. She stumbled back, her heel catching on a shattered vase. Her reflection glared back at her from the tall mirror near the staircase, a woman unrecognizable. Her hair was wild, her mascara streaked, her dress torn, her eyes wide with terror. The glamorous actress who smiled for cameras was gone. What stood now was a survivor in shock. Adrian groaned, his lips forming words she couldn't quite hear. His face, once the mask of charm, now twisted in fury even through the pain. "You'll regret this," he rasped. Sophia fled to the kitchen, her breaths shallow, her hands fumbling for her phone. She dialed 911, her voice breaking as she explained what happened. But as the words left her lips, self-defense. "He tried to kill me. He's hurt," a dread settled in. Who would believe her? The world adored Adrian Chase. The world doubted women like her. Within minutes, flashing red and blue lights cut through the storm outside. Police cars screeched to a halt, boots thundered across the driveway, and officers poured into the mansion. Sophia stood trembling in the foyer, her hands raised, her voice hoarse. It was him, he tried to. But they didn't listen. Their eyes darted from Adrian, bleeding but conscious, to Sophia, clutching the phone like a weapon. In an instant, their hands were on her wrists, cold steel closing around them. She gasped, her body jerking in disbelief. "No, you don't understand. He tried to kill me." Her voice was drowned out by the storm and the officer's commands. Adrian, even through his pain, managed a weak, pitiful groan. She attacked me." And just like that, the script flipped. The cameras arrived almost as quickly as the paramedics. News vans lined the street, lenses pointed toward the mansion as Sophia was led out in handcuffs, her hair plastered to her face from the rain. Flashes erupted, capturing her pale face, her wide eyes, her broken frame. Headlines formed before the ink even dried. Sophia Lane arrested in domestic attack on Adrian Chase. The world was stunned. The golden couple, the fairy tale, the dream, they were shattered in an instant. Social media exploded with theories, accusations, and judgment. Some called her a monster, jealous of Adrian's success. Others whispered darker rumors, that she was a victim finally pushed too far. In the hospital, Adrian's star power worked faster than medicine. While doctors stitched his wound, his publicist crafted a narrative. He was the victim of an unhinged lover. He was heartbroken, blindsided, betrayed. His face appeared on screens everywhere, pale but noble. His voice trembling as he told interviewers, "I never thought she could hurt me. I only ever loved her." The world wept for him. And Sophia, she became a villain overnight. Behind bars, she sat alone, the cold fluorescent lights buzzing above her. She replayed the night over and over, her mind trapped in loops of fear and doubt. Should she have run sooner? Should she have stayed silent? Would anyone ever believe her truth? Her lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Dana Morales, leaned across the metal table during their first meeting. "They're going to paint you as a monster," Dana warned. "But we're not going to let them. We'll show the jury who Adrian Chase really is." Sophia swallowed hard. But no one sees him that way. They only see the star. Dana's eyes hardened. "Then we'll tear down the mask." As the case built, the contrast between the two grew starker. Adrian attended charity events, his arm in a sling, flashing sorrowful smiles. He spoke softly of forgiveness, of healing, of wanting Sophia to get help. The media praised his strength, his compassion. Meanwhile, Sophia's past was dragged through the mud. Every ex-boyfriend, every audition rejection, every drunken college photo was unearthed to prove she was unstable, dangerous, unworthy of sympathy. But behind the scenes, cracks began to show. Witnesses whispered of Adrian's temper on set. Assistants hinted at nights filled with shouting. Paparazzi photos revealed bruises on Sophia's arms from months before. Slowly, painfully, the narrative began to shift. Dana gathered evidence like a warrior sharpening her sword. Hospital records, text messages, voicemails where Adrian's voice dripped venom. "If you leave me, I'll destroy you." Sophia trembled when she heard them played back. The world might finally hear what she had lived with for years. But Adrian wasn't about to fall quietly. His legal team fought viciously, burying evidence, discrediting witnesses, spinning every bruise as an accident, every message as taken out of context. The trial became a spectacle. Reporters camped outside the courthouse. Talk shows dissected every detail. Fans clashed online, some defending Adrian with blind devotion, others rallying behind Sophia with fierce conviction. And through it all, Sophia prepared to tell her story, to finally rip away the glittering mask and show the darkness beneath. The first day of trial, the courthouse buzzed with electricity. Cameras swarmed, capturing Adrian's solemn expression, Sophia's trembling hands, Dana's unyielding glare. Inside, the jury sat, 12 strangers about to decide whose truth would survive. The prosecution painted Sophia as violent, jealous, out of control. They called her career a failure, her love an obsession, her attack premeditated. They played clips of Adrian crying softly in interviews, his wounded voice pleading for compassion. But when it was the defense's turn, Dana stood tall. Her voice was steady, her gaze sharp as she told the jury, "This is not a case of jealousy. This is a case of survival. Adrian Chase is not the man you think he is." Then she pressed play. The courtroom filled with Adrian's voice, dripping with venom, threatening Sophia's life. Gasps echoed. Jurors shifted in their seats. For the first time, the golden star's shine dimmed. Sophia's heart pounded as she prepared to take the stand. She would finally speak. She would finally be heard. Sophia rose from her seat, her legs trembling as she walked toward the witness stand. The room seemed to close in around her. The jury's stares, the reporters' pens scratching furiously, the camera's lenses watching her every move. She raised her hand, swore the oath, and sat down. For a moment, silence filled the air. Then Dana's voice cut through it, gentle but firm. "Sophia, tell us what happened." Sophia's throat tightened. Her eyes darted toward Adrian, who sat at the defense table. His face a mask of sorrow. But his eyes, those cold, burning eyes, locked onto hers with a silent warning. She inhaled deeply, and then she spoke. She told the jury about the beginning. How Adrian had swept her off her feet, how he had made her feel chosen. She spoke of the whirlwind romance, the flowers, the gifts, the promises. And then, slowly, she peeled back the curtain. She described the first insult, the first time his hand closed around her wrist too tightly, the first slap followed by apologies and diamonds. Her voice trembled as she recounted nights filled with fear, mornings with bruises hidden beneath sleeves, days spent rehearsing the role of the perfect girlfriend while dying inside. The courtroom was silent, the jurors leaning forward. Even the reporters, hungry for scandal, seemed momentarily human as her words painted the picture of a woman trapped in a gilded cage. Then came the night of the storm. Her voice cracked as she relived it, the shouting, the glass shattering, the iron grip around her throat. Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, "I thought I was going to die. I didn't want to hurt him. I just wanted to live." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Dana placed a reassuring hand on Sophia's arm, grounding her. But the defense wasn't about to let her words stand unchallenged. Adrian's lawyer, a sharp-tongued man named Victor Hale, rose for cross-examination. His smile was thin, predatory. "Mississippi Lane," he began smoothly, "isn't it true that you've struggled in your career? That you've been overshadowed by Adrian's success?" Sophia blinked, caught off guard. Yes, but..." "And isn't it true that your relationship with Adrian brought you more publicity than any role you'd ever played?" She froze. He pressed on, relentless. "So when that relationship began to fade, when you realized you might be replaced, you lashed out. You attacked him. Isn't that the truth?" Her lips parted, but no words came. Her chest tightened, panic clawing at her throat. She looked to the jury, to Dana, desperate for someone to believe her. Victor leaned closer, his voice a dagger. "You weren't a victim, Mississippi Lane. You were desperate. And desperate people do desperate things." Sophia's eyes filled with tears, but her voice, though shaky, cut through the silence. "No, I was desperate to survive. And that's something Adrian will never understand." The courtroom buzzed with whispers, the tension electric. When she stepped down from the stand, her body felt hollow, drained. But in her chest burned a small ember of strength, because for the first time, her truth had been spoken out loud. The trial raged on. Witnesses came and went. Some swore Adrian was a saint, directors who called him professional, co-stars who claimed he was gentle, assistants who praised his generosity. But others cracked the facade. A former assistant, trembling, told the jury about nights when Adrian's rage filled the house, when objects were thrown, when threats were whispered. A past girlfriend, her face pale, recounted eerily similar patterns of charm, control, and violence. Each testimony chipped away at the golden mask. Adrian's defense countered with everything they had. They painted each witness as bitter, money-hungry, seeking revenge. They showed photos of Adrian at charity events, hugging children, kissing babies. They played clips of him speaking about respect and kindness. And yet, the cracks grew wider. The media frenzy escalated. News outlets broadcast every tear, every outburst, every whispered exchange. Social media turned into a battlefield. Hashtag Stand with Adrian clashing against hashtag Justice for Sophia. Celebrities chose sides, fueling the fire. Through it all, Adrian remained polished. He arrived each day in tailored suits, his hair immaculate, his expressions carefully rehearsed. He wept when appropriate, smiled softly when cameras lingered, and clasped his hands in prayer-like poses. But inside the courtroom, the mask began to slip. When he took the stand, his voice shook with feigned vulnerability. He spoke of love, of betrayal, of heartbreak. I loved Sophia, he told the jury, his voice cracking. I would have given her everything. But she couldn't handle my success. She tried to ruin me. For a moment, the jury seemed swayed. His tears glistened under the lights. His voice broke in all the right places. But then came the cross-examination. Dana rose, her gaze steady, her voice firm. Mr. Chase, do you consider yourself a man of patience? Yes, he replied quickly, too quickly. Do you consider yourself gentle? Of course. She leaned closer, her tone sharp. Then how do you explain this? The speakers filled with his voice. One of the voicemails he had left Sophia, venom dripping from every word. You'll never leave me. Mine. If you try, I'll end you. The courtroom gasped. Adrian's face flushed red. He stammered. That was taken out of context. Dana pressed harder. Out of context. You threatened to end her life. Is that what you call patience? Is that what you call love? Adrian's jaw clenched, his eyes flashing with fury. For the briefest moment, the mask shattered, and the jury saw it. The darkness beneath the charm, the predator behind the smile. That moment changed everything. Sophia watched from her seat, her heart pounding. She saw the jurors exchange glances, saw their faces harden. For the first time, she felt hope flicker. But the battle wasn't over. Weeks dragged on, evidence mounting, testimonies clashing. The world outside hung on every word, every headline. And as the trial crawled toward its end, one question lingered in the air like smoke. Would the jury believe the star they had worshipped for years, or the woman who dared to challenge him? Sophia prayed they would see the truth, that they would see the man behind the mask. Because if they didn't, her story would end in silence. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends so they can enjoy it too.